October 17th, 2020. The first public hearing was held on September 19th, and it was warned on August 17th, 2022 in the newspaper. This is the second public hearing regarding the Newport City Municipal Plan. After the first public hearing, there were some comments made, and I believe the Planning Commission incorporated changes into that section of the document. I'm not sure if they'd like to go over and review, go over the changes that were incorporated. Either the chair of the Planning Commission, John Manette, or Allison Lowe is connected remotely. I'll entertain either one to go over the changes that were incorporated.
Yeah, I don't actually have a copy of the prior version with me. I forgot to bring it. But we did make some changes. We took out some specific statements that may or may not have been accurate. In any event, the revised version was unanimously approved by the Planning Commission, and is before you tonight. We also have just a technical correction on page 43, I think it is. The definition of the Newport watershed, we may have been a little bit broader than the actual drainage basin of Lake Newport. In any event, we're correcting that. And I know that Allison Lowe was corresponding with some state people to confirm the exact statement that should be put in, just so that we were accurate. The prior version apparently overstated the geographic area of the watershed, so we were just correcting that.
Okay. Allison, did you want to add anything? She's connected remotely.
I did send a correction to the definition of the watershed boundaries. I received a watershed boundary map from our watershed planner, and we vetted the language. I also found another typo, so it doesn't really change anything, but I just, it'd be nice to have the plan as close to perfect as possible, so I included that in the email. Both of those are technical corrections, and they are not substantive.
Okay. And it is my understanding there were some additional comments sent via email, I believe, to the president of the city council and the entire planning commission. The rest of the council did not receive the comments which were made, and I didn't know if the planning they were forwarded on, but I didn't know if the planning commission wanted, or Allison, anyone wanted to address those comments.
Go ahead, Allison.
Well, I just want to point out that the commenter was the one who talked about the boundaries of the watershed, and we did correct that. Many of the other comments pertain to Appendix C, which was already amended. He had objected to the same statements that we had edited subsequently.
Okay. Does council have questions or comments on the revisions?
I don't have any.
I don't. I thought they were good revisions. It cleaned up that whole section as far as what I considered in that section of the municipal plan. And with that, are there any other comments?
Yes, I'm Ann Sherrill, and I am a resident of Newport. One of the comments that was made originally at the last hearing was that Montpelier is not accepting leachate. The plan, as amended, still says that Montpelier is taking leachate. They voted, the city council there voted probably almost a year ago that they didn't want to take any leachate that would go into their river and down into Lake Champlain because they knew they weren't taking out the PFOAs.
That sentence has been removed.
Well, I looked online today and it still said Montpelier was taking leachate.
Well, it's been removed. And
It's been removed. And the second thing I wanted to raise was that I think I raised that the special products or the special wastes, and I looked at the website today, and I can give up the copies of it, says specifically what special wastes are. And it's important because special wastes are the only wastes that are taken from out of state. And the one that's online, when I went to look today, it said that special waste included food products, which clearly are not special waste, contaminated soils, which is true, bricks, debris, and blocks. And it does not give a fair interpretation of what Casella includes in special waste. It sounds more like blocks and tiddly toys or something like that. Special waste includes asbestos, ash, PCB contaminated waste, PCB bulk product waste, and industrial waste, and oil and gas waste. And that gives a truer picture, as well as some other things, of what's in special waste that we are taking from out of state, which clearly other states don't want, and it's all winding up in Vermont. In fact, there was an article today in the paper about the fact that Burlington is suing Monsanto, I believe, because a school was built with PCBs in it, which they can't use anymore. So unless I haven't seen the new updated version as well of what special wastes are, you didn't give a fair, we don't have a fair interpretation or an accurate interpretation of what's being given to us by other states. And I'll just give you guys up front a couple of copies, as well as the Planning Commission. But you can just go on Casella's website and you will see what they include in special waste. And it's really important because no real research is done when the stuff arrives at the dump. It gets approved ahead of time by the state, but they haven't seen any of these products that are coming, and nobody knows what's actually in the bags.
Well, the state regulates Casella, we don't as a municipality.
Right.
That's
No,
the
but
bottom, no, let me finish. At the bottom line, we do not regulate Casella. That is a function of the state of Vermont. This is our municipal plan dealing with the city of Newport.
Yeah, but you should be accurate about what they're taking, and in addition, we should have a position possibly. Our
We know,
city
our city
should
plan
have a
is not
position.
meant for a position, it's not a political statement, which I know you are a member of DUMP, and they want to make our plan a political statement. Our plan is not going to be a political statement. It is a plan of the city of Newport for the future of the city of Newport. It is a guide for the future of Newport, just like the capital investment plan is a guide for Newport.
But
It
it
is
should be
not
factual.
it is not a political statement. And that's all I'm gonna say on that. Allison, did you wanna add anything to about the solid waste? Whoop, oh, you're muted.
There we go.
There.
and it was edited to be as neutral as possible without taking a side. We still felt that addressing solid waste, like discussing it was important in terms of capacity, but we wanted to make sure that we had neutral language.
Yeah, the definition that's in the plan is not intended to be the all-inclusive definition. It's simply illustrative of the range of some of the items. And the mayor is entirely correct. The plan is absolutely not intended to be a political document or a partisan document. It's completely inappropriate to have it be such.
But it should be fair in terms of what's being taken in. It shouldn't have bricks and blocks. It should explain what kind of contaminated stuff is being taken in.
Yeah. Well, the commission unanimously voted to provide the revised language in the form that's before the council. And beyond that, it's up to the council as to whether they want any further changes.
We have Teresa Garand raised her hand. You can, if you want to unmute and ask your question or make a comment, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. I do want to thank the Planning Commission for the hard work that they did to produce this multifaceted plan, and I really do appreciate the work. As has been touted, often in the plan, the lake is integral to the success of Newport. In fact, the lake, Lake Memphremagog, is the beating heart of the Northeast Kingdom and is the main attraction for tourism. Recently, at the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the parklet by Newport City Municipal Building, the city manager cited the importance and the beauty of Lake Memphremagog, and I agree with that sentiment. So while the city plans to use the lake to help Newport prosper, doesn't it make sense to invest and protect the lake? As the city adopts this plan and starts to make the necessary changes, it's important to keep the health of the lake as a goal, and that should be incorporated into any plan the city adopts. I do have a couple of suggestions just to illustrate the point I'm trying to make. One is to minimize stormwater runoff. The state of Vermont has developed a Memphremagog Basin plan to help lower the total maximum daily loads of phosphorus and other pollutants that are the result of non-point source runoff. The city of Newport must do what it can to prevent stormwater runoff into the lake. The recent paved bike path along Prouty Beach is an example of what not to do. This path should have been compacted gravel like the path at the Bluff Farm property. After each rainstorm, deep channels are created below the paved bike path along the beach, providing clear evidence of the flow of stormwater and sediment directly into the lake. Allowing this path to be paved with an impervious surface is an example of the city contributing to the impairment of Lake Memphremagog. The city should be helping to protect and restore Lake Memphremagog, and any plans the city adopts should clearly state that focus. The other example is we need to permanently ban the acceptance of landfill leachate at the Newport wastewater treatment facility. The city has the authority to refuse to accept leachate at the wastewater treatment facility, as they have done in the past. I have heard that some in the Newport City administration have vocally supported the prospect of allowing leachate to be accepted again by the Newport wastewater treatment facility. Any acceptance of leachate processed at the Newport City wastewater treatment facility and discharged into the lake will cause further irreparable harm to the lake, which is currently listed by the state as impaired. I beg the mayor, the city council, and the city manager to ban this practice forever. Why not put that ban in the city's plan? Please include a focus on protecting and restoring Lake Memphremagog into this plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would you like to address that?
I think that the whole leachate issue is entirely beyond the scope of the plan. That's a council matter, not a planning commission matter.
Which has nothing to do with the plan, that is correct. Just wanted to. And as far as the bike path, the city manager can correct me, but that was approved by the state of Vermont. That went through the permitting process through the state of Vermont. And so, that was approved by the state. We followed all the regulations, all the requirements of the state of Vermont when it came to the walking path, bike path through Prouty Beach. There was regulations that had to be followed. And I believe it included the runoff and everything like that.
Can I question that? I was at the Act 250 hearing and an asphalt path was not part of that discussion. There wasn't a path there, but it was not discussed.
But that doesn't really have anything to do with actually the current city plan.
Right.
No, so that's,
true,
so I think we're getting off topic regarding the city plan. But as far as I know, all the permits were met and followed as far as the path at Prouty Beach. The state signed off on it, and as far as that was, everything was met.
Right, and I believe that to be true. I guess what I'm trying to say is that the city has the opportunity to do what it can to protect the lake. And I am hoping that the city will do. It's one thing to meet regulations, it's another thing if you go down there and you see the channels, the sediment that's going right into the lake. And nothing's being done to fix it that I can see. So, there's the regulation and then there's the reality of what's happening. And I just wanted to bring that to the attention, since this is a city plan, that if the city could have a focus to protect the lake, that would be better for the long-term future of the city of Newport. And that was my point, not any particular item. I just was using those as an example.
Okay. Anything else regarding the municipal plan? Comments from council members? Anyone else with any comments? All right. There was someone else on the line, but they disconnected. I saw that there was a phone number with no name, so. Okay, with that, we'll close the public hearing on the municipal plan, and we'll move on at 6:52 with the regular Newport City Council meeting, which I'll call to order. Members of the council present include Kevin Charbonneau, John Wilson, Chris Vachon, myself, Paul Menez, the mayor. Others include James Johnson, clerk treasurer, and Laura Dogan, our city manager. And at this time, we need a motion to approve the minutes of October 3rd, 2022.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion we approve the minutes of 3 October 2022.
Motion made by Mr. Wilson. Oh, before I move on, Ms. Pedersen is absent, she is ill, so she is not here with us. So a motion was made by Mr. Wilson. Is there a second to approve the minutes?
Second.
Second by Mr. Vachon. All those in favor, any discussion? Then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Okay. Moving down, comments by members of the public. No one has signed up regarding comments by members of the public. So we'll move on. I skipped, okay, I didn't skip that, okay, good. Back there. Okay, the next item is the Newport Crossing presentation, Convent redevelopment, and 329 Main Street project. And we have Patrick Shattuck, the executive director, and Becky Masur, Director of Real Estate Development for Rural Edge. Welcome.
Thank you. Where would you like us?
I can stand.
Okay. I like this. This allows me to cover my stomach. Good evening. Thank you for having us tonight. I am Patrick Shattuck. I'm the Executive Director of Rural Edge. Becky Mashur is our Director of Real Estate Development, and we wanted to take this opportunity to fill you in on something that we've been working on since the beginning of this year. We started meeting with the Planning Commission, I think in March, and we said that we were going to join the long line of folks attempting to negotiate site control of the long vacant Sacred Heart site. And after a lot of negotiation, we were successful in coming to terms for that site and have really looked at a long-term redevelopment of it, phased over time. And first phase would be the redevelopment of the convent. Now this is a little interesting because, as you know, there's lots of money available at the state level for new housing development. We know that part of that is tied to large-scale projects. Burlington has a scale that works for it, and the communities in the Northeast Kingdom have a completely separate scale. So to get to that necessary scale to take advantage of the resource, we have combined multiple sites in Newport City with multiple sites in Newport Town to create a larger project to take advantage of efficiencies of scale, and it is the Newport Crossing project. So when you hear about a larger project, that is the reason. It was dictated by funding sources, efficiency of scale, and just meeting the requirements necessary to bring this to this region. Because nothing is ever easy. When we looked at the site, I think it's easy to start with the site plan. So to give you some idea, this would be the rectory, so the church would be here. This would be the convent, this would be the school, and the lake would be here. So this is currently the open fields, and we went out for a request for design proposals to multiple architectural firms, and I think we got about half a dozen responses, and we really looked at firms that both met the budget, but also really understood what it takes to plan a healthy community and a vibrant neighborhood. And ultimately, we engaged a Gossens Bachman architect, who we'd worked with before. And we first wanted to look at the overall site, and we said, you know, what could we look at over multiple years? We know that there is a need. We hear on the news all the time a need for all types of housing. It's not just affordable, it's not elderly, it's not just accessible, it's everything. We hear from hospitals and schools that they can't recruit new employees. So how can we look at creating a comprehensive neighborhood that really creates that site, links that site, 8.5 relatively flat acres of undeveloped land in the heart of the city with the existing neighborhood structure. So in looking at it, they provided us a number of options using your current zoning ordinance as their guide. And when we came down to it, this was the one that we felt really made the most sense, in part because we were looking at phasing it. And so we wanted to make sure that anything we did for phase 1, which is outlined in the blue line, made sense and was easily built upon, so that we wouldn't have to spend too much money early on in disrupting the open green space, and that we could really address the buildings at hand and make sure that we work to save the building resources that are there. We heard reference to hazardous materials and contaminated soil, asbestos. We are dealing with all of that in those buildings. And that is part of the reason why they've sat on the market for 7 years. You know, this is not a property that the private sector is going to redevelop, but that is why it presents an excellent opportunity for Rural Edge as the Regional Affordable Housing Development Corporation to come in and bring the funds that we're able to and look at partnerships to really create a comprehensive new development and address some of those challenges. So with that, we looked in a 10-year build out. We're looking at a potential of 120 to 160 units as allowed by your current zoning. Now, of course, that could fluctuate over time. We met with the Planning Commission at the same time that they were getting sort of the analysis of the current zoning ordinance. And not only are we consistent with the current zoning ordinance, we've incorporated lots of the recommendations that were identified for inclusion in the revised ordinance. So things like, we've created a green space at the center. That is also to deal with all the stormwater runoff on site. So we're looking at minimizing pavement, looking at what creates a healthy neighborhood. So walking paths, recreational opportunities, accessible paths of travel, things that are attractive to all people. And so for phase one, we are looking at the convent. And that would be 26 rental units.
Answers my question.
And we have a handout that we provided early, I think you've gotten it. So 26 rental units, which combined with a 3-unit building on Main Street, which is adjacent to our Lake Bridge development, that would bring 29 units to Newport. 24 of those units would not have rental subsidies. So we have about 150 units in Newport, and the majority of those have rental subsidies, so it means that they're targeted to the lowest income residents. What we want to do is, as we look at our portfolio, that we create a healthy balance, that we serve a diverse range, so that they will be affordable units, but they will really be targeted toward households earning between about $26,000 for a household of 1 to upwards for the largest 3-bedroom. If you had a household of 4, you could have an income of up to $68,000. So looking at different income mixes and really looking at what we hear from the community, you need affordable housing to support the local businesses, because we hear from everyone. We also hear all the time that there's a need for more senior units. Within our portfolio, we have 101 senior units in Newport. And so this building would be general occupancy, but it is designed to be all the common areas fully accessible units, a mixture of 1 and 2 bedroom units, an elevator building. It has a community room. It would have on-site SASH services, which is our support and services at home program, which works to keep elderly and disabled residents active and engaged in their community, so that while it wouldn't be exclusive to seniors, it would be very attractive to seniors and attractive to everyone. What we've really tried to do is to design a place that would be really nice to live. We have included this with the other properties in Newport Center, and we are very excited that at the end of September, the Vermont Housing and Conservation Board awarded us just under $9 million toward the development. We're going before the Vermont Housing Finance Agency next month to compete for tax credits, which Community National Bank has committed to investing. So they will be our private sector investor in the project, a local partner that understands the importance of investing in this community. And so we hope to have our funding lined up by the end of this year so that we can begin construction sort of as soon as the ground thaws in 2023. Because this involves 4 buildings in multiple towns, some of those buildings are occupied. We're looking at about an 18-month construction period, because we have to make sure that the folks who are living in the occupied units, that we have to have a place to put them. We know there is a very tight market. Even though we own 150 units in Newport, they're all full. They've got long waiting lists. So that rather than a typical 1-year construction period, we're looking at 18 months, because we will phase it at different buildings as we move residents to newly completed units. The Planning Commission did review our schematic designs, and I think you've received the whole package. Upside down. And did indicate their support. But just for some idea, this is what it would look like. This would be the elevation from the school looking to the convent, really keeping that structure, keeping the existing openings, Believe it or not, the Vermont Division for Historic Places has deemed this building, which was built in 1969, as contributing to a historic resource, meaning the entire church complex. So they want us to see us keep the original building, especially the vision as you would leave the school and go to the convent. What the nuns would have seen as they went home, as close to the original as possible. Where we do see some change is where there's currently the kitchen and dining room. That was a later addition that was not as well built as the rest of the building and has really taken on a lot of water and has deteriorated. So we would be replacing that, building on roughly the same footprint and creating a 4-story tower. So, you know, mentioned the importance of the lake. That site has amazing views, and we want to make sure that we take advantage of that. So that what I think we've done is we've really created a dynamic design that creates really important, necessary housing resources for Newport, for the residents who are here, and brings some activity back to this site. We look at a second phase with the school and looking at home ownership opportunities. So the opportunity to create condominiums in that building so that we create a diverse mix of housing options on the site. So I'd be happy to answer any questions, or is there anything I didn't touch on?
You hit it all.
Maybe if you want to talk, I know there was some question about sustainability and planning for the future. Of course, everything that we do is really required to be super energy efficient. Becky, if you want to talk about...
Super insulated, air sealed, quality air control, so we're talking about mechanical ventilation, most efficient heating systems, energy efficient windows and doors, and then obviously we try to do renewable energies as much as possible. Our funders want to see us move away from fuel oil and the likes. And so we also work with Efficiency Vermont and 3E Thermal, and they work with our projects. Their designers work with our designers so that we're meeting all of the codes and energy efficiency requirements of their high energy standard list that they require in order to have incentives as well.
And for this building, we're actually looking at a central pellet heating system.
Correct.
Which we've used in a number of buildings.
Could you go back to the other
Yep.
diagram? So your first phase is basically
It's in blue.
that
What's
right
in
there.
blue?
In blue, but it's basically the first building. The
Correct.
other building would be in another, like 2 years?
That's correct.
Okay.
Basically, what we want to do is get all the funding and get this in the ground under construction so that we can start pulling together our proposals for the other.
And then the final buildings, which I'm assuming, from what I heard, is like market rate housing?
Could be market rate, could be a combination, could be home ownership. You know, we've talked with habitat groups. There's a program currently for the career centers to build homes for sale. And if we have land and resources available, let's save the need to purchase money there so that we can create more housing units. So I think that it's creates an exciting opportunity. You know, it might be that there are private developers who we're able to help make the numbers work for private developers. Our goal is to make this site useful and create housing units because we know that's important. It's important as Newport looks to attract industry. It's important as you plan for the Newport of tomorrow. And so that is what we want to do and really keep the options open, but really we're looking at how it could lay out. So we're committed to sort of this central green space and really liked this one because it gave the opportunity for front and rear yards for any buildings that would be built so that you really had that neighborhood component and also took advantage of views of the South Bay.
Questions from anyone? I think it's a wonderful project, and it's good to see, after 7 years, the site finally with potential of being developed or redeveloped and again.
We're very excited, and you know, we want to work with the community. Where you mentioned contaminated soils, we're up there actually drilling. The drills are there because the school took out some underground storage tanks at one point, and there was a pile of soil. and everything was documented except what happened to that pile of soil. It would have been a whole lot more affordable to document that pile of soil 25 years ago than what we're trying to do now, because we actually have to drill and test the soil around the entire site. So, but those are the things we're committed to do to make it viable, because it really is an exciting opportunity, and really would be nice to see it reinvigorated.
Well, it reminds me of the Lake Bridge project down the road here, how that revamped that whole section of buildings with the new buildings, it's buildings that were kept that they could keep without tearing down. So this project reminds me of that same thing, the enthusiasm, the need for the housing, and that project's worked out extremely well. I know that, and I know people who live there, and they really, it's been, as some people said, they were able to, actually at the time, before you had your huge waiting list, sell their home and actually go there, which was easier. And I know that's holding back a lot of people. A lot of our older population would love to be able to sell their home and go into something like this too.
Well, that is such a nice, successful, again, neighborhood that's cohesive with the existing community. And that's why when 329, which is adjacent to that Main Street, became available, it made sense to acquire that. And while it will officially be part of, the larger Newport Crossing project, it will read and operate as that development and give us the opportunity to give new life to another building.
Mm-hmm. Anything else from anyone?
Mr. Mayor, is the 18-month window the entire project, or is that just for phase one?
Just for phase one. Yeah, we're looking at probably an 8 to 10 year build out for the entire thing.
Mr. Mayor, any idea how much the entire project is gonna cost, or is it too far out to?
Well, I think that we put some rough figures out, that it could be, and again, I said it could be 120 to 160 units. So total, so it is a significant investment.
And it's kind of hard to judge cost.
Right,
Cost
right. Oh, I know.
Well, it's interesting. Funders are requiring us to keep a 20% contingency because numbers are changing so quickly. We were funded last month, and they project by the time we go in the ground, there could potentially be another 5% increase, and that was before Hurricane Ian.
That's what I was thinking.
So, as it illustrates, the problem that we need more housing and the challenge we have in working with all of these requirements and supply issues and a labor job force issue as well. It's nice that we're able to have Northeast Kingdom contractors who we keep working regularly, but they tell us, we'll definitely be there to bid as long as we still have a crew.
Go ahead.
Well, 29 additional units is great, but what's the current need estimated to be, please?
So it varies. We have got engaged a housing needs assessment that is for the entire Northeast Kingdom. Because when you do a market study, it looks at a very specific market study and has some assumptions. I mean, the market study says that this will be filled before we open up the doors, that the demand is so great. To give an idea, each one of our developments has its own separate waiting list, and our waiting lists are called every 6 months. So we survey everyone on the waiting list. Are you still interested? Do you want to be considered? On average, properties that have 1-bedroom subsidized units have a waiting list of about 60 for a 1-bedroom subsidized unit. So that, you may say, wow, that's really long if you're looking at a development with 12 or 15 units. You've got to understand that some people may put their name on every single waiting list, but what we typically find is that when we lease up, households have been, again, for that unit size, on the waiting list for about 4 years. And we're seeing the same pressure. We have the home ownership center, so we help first time and lower income people become home buyers. And we've just found that there is no inventory. And so typically when we would have seen folks move from rental housing to home ownership, freeing up those units on the rental market, and that just hasn't happened because there's been so much competition. So that's why we include homeownership as a component of our overall development.
Other questions or anything?
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to ask, one of these folks if they could email me a copy of the slides, because those won't be produced for, by just taking a picture of it.
Yep.
Awesome.
Great. Well, thank you for
Okay,
coming.
thank you very much.
Look forward to seeing it completed.
Yes,
Or breaking ground.
we'll look forward to a groundbreaking, yes.
I'll have you write it down, because you'll never be.
And there are some copies of our last year's annual report up on the table, and I have more if members of the public would like.
Okay, moving on. The next item is regarding the municipal plan adoption. We've heard additional comments tonight. Does the council wish to adopt the municipal plan as it was presented and passed unanimously by the planning commission? If so, we would need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
A motion was made to adopt the municipal plan as presented by the planning commission. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Made by Mr. Vashon, seconded by Mr. Charbonneau. Discussion? If there is no discussion, then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries. So the municipal plan has been adopted.
That was not smiling.
So now we'll move on. Mr. Johnson, new business?
Yeah, I do have something. Pass those down to him. Only four. Got one for Laura.
One more, city manager, I guess.
Yeah.
So what we got here is an errors of omission on the grand list. And Robert going through this, he realized that he merged two properties, but two tax bills went out. One of the tax bills are correct, but he still taxed the second property at the old rate, at the old value, and that's not the case. So as you can see in the thing, in the process, well, notification was sent to landowner in 624, failed to inactivate property number 120007 from the grand list, causing it to generate a bill, which it shouldn't have. But he did adjust 120006 is correct. So what we need to do is get a motion from the council to inactivate the first parcel, because it's all combined in the second one. It's an extra, being sent a tax bill to an extra piece of property, shouldn't have been there.
So we basically only want parcel number 120007.
No, 06. 06,
We want 6, not
Yeah.
7.
right.
Okay.
So that one is correct. It includes both parcels.
6 includes both. Okay,
So we just need a motion so you can inactivate that one parcel.
so inactivate number 7. So we need a motion?
Yeah.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Mr. Wilson to inactivate parcel number 120007. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Vashon. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries.
Okay.
Any other new business? Mr. Charbonneau? Mr. Wilson?
New business now.
I don't have any new business.
No, thank you.
Mr. Hogan? No new business? Okay. Moving on. Old business. Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, I do. This is, I've got, loan documents and agreement need to be signed. Back in February, if you remember, you made authorization to proceed on a, combined sewer overflow grant or loan for $95,000. I've got the documents. It needs to be signed. Need a motion to approve it by the council, and The mayor's got to sign it, and I've got to sign it, so we can proceed. That was back in February, I think. Isn't it in February? they-
2021, yeah, February of 2021, Wayne Elliott came. This has to do with the long-term plan of the combined sewer overflow. It's 100% forgivable. So,
Yeah.
but they still have to process the
Yeah.
documents as if it was a full loan.
Oh,
It's
okay.
for the purchase of level monitoring devices on the causeway in Western Avenue for the overflow.
So we need a motion to approve the loan document,
Yeah, yeah, then you can sign it. The loan agreement.
the loan agreement.
I'll make that
So
motion.
any motion?
Motion made by Mr. Vashon, is there a second?
I'll go ahead and second.
Second by Mr. Wilson, discussion? And you said this is completely forgivable, you know, the loan, it's just, it's a formality to have the document,
Yes.
but they will forgive the 95,000.
Yes.
Yeah, if you look at the document, it says 0%.
Does the mayor sign it?
Yeah, you gotta sign it. That's the motion first.
So a motion was made and seconded, discussion? Any other discussion? Then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, motion carried. Okay.
Okay,
Other old business?
that's all I got.
Any old business, Mr. Chairman? Mr. Wilson?
I had one, and that's on the reservoir. I know we got 2 bids from Aldrich and Elliott. And this is supposed to be happening come spring, I believe. And will this come before the council as to which one of the 2?
I'll ask Tom, and I'll find out and put this on the next agenda if we need to, because I'm not
Okay.
really sure. This says that Aldrich and Elliott were representing the city of Newport, so let me find out, and
Okay.
I'll let you know at the
Because-
next meeting. Yep,
You know,
Yeah.
the quicker we lock in, the less chance they have to up the price again.
there you go.
And this has been 10-year project. Okay, that's all I had, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, any other old business?
No?
I don't have anything?
No, thank you.
Any old
So
business?
thank you.
Okay. Then the next regular city council meeting will be Monday, November 7th, 2022, 6:30 PM here in the council room. Now we need a motion